From the iHeartRadio studios in New York City, come two diehard fans of the greatest rock and roll band hailing from Hollywood, California. Dissecting all things Guns N' Roses and anything else in their distorted minds, it's Brando and Scotto.
'Cause you know what the fuck you are!
And this is Appetite for Distortion.
Try it again!
And welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 26. My name is Brando. With me today is one of our bad apples here on Appetite for Distortion.
Hello.
John Miller, you are a bad boy recently.
I don't mean to. I mean, I just say what comes to mind sometimes. It isn't right.
Well, welcome to Appetite for Distortion, the 26th episode. This is just so cool. We're back in the iHeartRadio studios in Tribeca. The last episode, we had Ian and I, Scotto, comma Ian. We were at his Soft Rep studios. Just, I don't know, it's like, you know the city better than I do. It's like, I don't know, like 10 minutes away from here in Tribeca. I forget where it is. I'm terrible. But we did a live episode, so you can actually watch us if you dare. That was a lot of fun. But I'm glad John is here. He's here for a few reasons, other than his beautiful, salt and pepper mane. Okay. And this shirt, I thought you made it, but this is our...
No, this is a vintage Appetite for Destruction shirt. One of my friends in Indiana gave it to me when I visited there. After I called into the show that other time, and she goes, "Here, you want this?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm good. Yes, give me the goddamn shirt."
I've never seen that before because it's the original cover of Appetite,
right? Yes.
And then what does it say in the sleeves?
Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
Guns N' Roses.
And because it looks like, I guess he likes the Axl, because I'm assuming all these prints go through him. Because it just reminded me of the Chinese Democracy long sleeve shirt that I had, which I thought was rare, but that's even rarer.
Yeah,
we'll put pictures up there on our social media because it is cool.
From 1988.
Yeah, but I do want to mention before we get into we get into a lot because we're going to interview Raz Cue today.
Cue. I mean, you know what? I was going to...
forgive me.
I do not know, or I could be wrong. I mean, I've heard Raz Cue.
This is cool.
He and I have not spoken.
We are so professional here. It's like we've said on the show a lot, Paul Hughie or Paul Hughes.
It's Hughie.
Hughie.
Yeah.
All right.
It means.
We've repeatedly never claimed to be experts. We're just big, huge fans who happen to be in radio, Ian and I. So I have no idea. And no one knows this guy Raz, it seems, or, at least from, people know him, but not in our world, it seems, because I'm seeing...
Right.
Well, tell me how you discovered him before we get into it.
All right. Well, when I started speaking for my movie project, started speaking to old band members, his name just started coming up. And, when you would read about it, you would read interviews with Tracii, maybe even Axl spoke about the manager. They never said his name. So I always knew there was this guy, this LA Guns manager who is basically like a catalyst for the formation of the band. It seemed to me as a reader, as a fan. And so I was speaking with the original Guns N' Roses drummer, Robert Gardner. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, get really contentious about what is the original band or not. But the original one, Robert Gardner told me about Raz Cue, the LA Guns manager. And that he was the one who basically funded the band. And he came into money from an accident. And everything started feeling very hot. Like, I need to know more about this guy. This is significant. Because again, one thing...
Because when you first told me that, I was like, well, that's cool, because that's the point of this podcast, is just to get, find all the fourth and fifth players of this Guns N' Roses universe and find out their stories. And, just in addition to, of course, having fun talking about, a great rock and roll band. But you told me other things that just intrigued me even more. And you didn't even have to say anything, actually, before that. You just showed me the cover.
Right.
Because the book is on Amazon. It's a Raz, and it's The Days of Guns and Razes.
Right.
And there are two handicap logos on there. Exactly. And, if this is the first episode you're listening to Appetite for Distortion, a lot of you discovered us from the live episode. I actually paid for those Facebook ads, or the promo thing. Uh-huh. We got we got new fans out of it. So I guess I'm glad you enjoyed my $50, Zuckerberg, you son of a bitch.
Jeez.
So yeah, wow, I got angry real quick. I took my medication. I'm fine.
It's all right.
But just seeing the logos and just because I'm handicapped. That's what I was getting to. I have a neurological disability. I don't think you spoke to Raz about it before.
I did not.
So we'll talk about it with him. So I'm just really intrigued how this handicapped guy, and I don't want to, I guess I can reduce it to that because that's what I am sometimes, was the original Guns N' Roses manager, which is just incredibly fascinating. So he should be calling up in just a few minutes.
Yeah. I mean, but besides Robert Gardner, I heard it through the LA Guns, one of the bass players, Steve Darrow. He talked about him. The drummer for Hollywood Rose, for Shire, Johnny Crease brought him up. Chris Webber brought him up, I'm sure, to me. And I don't think when I interviewed,
I just kept thinking of Raz as in Razzle, from
right. No, I mean that's what I guess
I
always
heard
that too.
Right. I guess never really thought it through.
Right. And well, ultimately, the biggest connection was the other early LA Gun singer, who I was told by him that he was the original. What you will learn is that Axl Rose was the original LA Gun singer. Now, LA Guns turned from
We'll
another
see what
band.
he says. We'll see what he says from that.
Well, I mean, no, who?
Raz.
Well, Raz is the one who...
I know, it says it. I want to hear it from the...
okay, I'll shut up about it.
The Raz's mouth.
Because the alternative facts that I heard came from the other singer, Michael Jagos, and he died in February 2014.
Okay.
And he and I have become pretty good friends. And when I would go out to LA, we'd go to the Rainbow and hang out and have a good time. Anyway, he loved Raz, and he had told me that Raz had died.
Oh.
So, and I thought that I saw
the rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
I thought that I saw him pop up somewhere on Facebook, and
were you interviewing a dead guy?
Well, I mean, so
awesome.
Michael, I said, I think Raz is still alive, and so he goes, no. I mean, Michael had this unbelievably loud voice. I'd be driving him around. I don't even want to get into how loud the guy was. But
okay.
But I don't know if you've ever heard the LA Guns.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
Sorry, we're back in the studio, and now I have the soundboard back again, so it felt right.
Well, have you ever heard Collector's Edition #1? It's the LA Guns' first EP album.
No, I usually associate that with comic books.
Well, right. I mean, that I understand, but I recommend listening to this because I think that it gives, other than the vocals, it gives a first impression of what the original Guns N' Roses sound would be like, because you have Ole Bach on bass, you have Tracii Guns on guitar, and you have Rob Gardner on the drums. So I can't wait. So we're moments away from getting Raz here on the phone. But before we do, want to acknowledge a couple things, because as we're recording this, this is Sunday, September 3rd. We're in fucking September already. I'm going to be 34 in a few days. I'm going to throw up. So old, man.
I know. But I could live a long life like Walter Becker from Steely Dan. So he passed away today. He was sick, apparently, and good for him that he kept it private, because he could surprise a lot of fans. And I want to bring that up because, of course, he impacted and a lot of musicians. Slash tweeted about it today. So did Matt Sorum. And for me, just growing up on classic rock radio, which initially got me into Guns N' Roses, Steely Dan was always on the radio too, and I always liked it. I never got into it as much as GNR, because maybe they were more of, I guess, my dad's era. But so rest in peace. I mean, that just sucks. Another legendary musician, one of the founders of Steely Dan.
Well, I wonder if I'm hoping that Guns might do.
Maybe, but first we're going to talk to Raz, okay?
Oh.
So I'm going to start the interview awkwardly, because usually Ian has this nice written out, biography. But as we were talking a little bit before we brought you on the air, Raz, how John brought you to my attention, and I wanted to save it to on the air. That really grabbed me. In addition to just being a huge GNR nerd, about your story, that the cover has handicap logos on it. I'm also handicapped. I have a neurological condition that requires me to use leg braces and a cane. So I'm just reading more and more about your story. And I was actually watching your stand-up earlier from 1990. And actually, if you give me a second, I want to play a clip from it, because I've always thought about, because I'm Jewish, I have to be a comedian. about what would I say if I went on stage with my cane. And I think you came up with the best joke because you come on. By the way, I'm gonna tweet this video. You look amazing in it. It's totally 80s, even though it's 1990, right?
Hey, is your name pronounced Cue or Q?
Oh, it's not even coming up.
Q, like
Q, okay.
Like Cue ball.
Okay, I got you.
Like Faux Q Studios.
All right.
So here's Raz doing stand-up in 1990.
You know, after show, people always ask me about the walkers. They ask me what happened, how did I end up with it. I tell them I was at the market, and this old lady was just not paying attention, so I stole from her.
I just couldn't stop laughing. So that's enough of my, me talking. We're here to talk to you. So you're calling us from Vegas today, right?
Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada.
And this is your second book, right?
Yeah, I got another book, Bud's Love Bus. It's about these guys that make a 1972 Volkswagen bus run on weed.
How is that not a movie yet?
I don't know. Like, people say it should. Yeah, it should be. They got a lot of weed movies. Plus, I know people that acquire books for films, and I never even pitch it to them, though. So it's like, I should, shouldn't I?
Maybe one day. And I also want, before we get into your story, this is the very first interview you've ever done on a podcast, on a radio, ever?
Ever, yeah.
I mean, I'm completely honored, and I hope you can understand me saying, goddamn right, we should be the first interview. People who I think can understand you.
Well, I mean, as soon as I started reading the book, I said, like, he's got to come on the show. I mean,
and I'm glad you brought him to us.
I mean, a friend of mine that I only know through online. His name is Gavin Barnard. He's a huge fan. He lives in Great Britain, and he alerted me right away because have you gotten Raz's book? I said no, and so he sent me the Amazon ad. I bought it immediately, started reading because I've been wanting to talk to you for years. Like we were talking about this earlier. In 2011, I first heard your name from Rob Gardner while he and I were on the phone, and then of course when I met Michael Jagos, he talked about you nonstop, and I think I might have mentioned this to you. Michael thought you had died, and I'm like, I don't think so. I think I saw him.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean,
I heard that I was dead, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit, but I don't know. It was kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
You're not dead, though. We can confirm you're not dead.
Right.
Yeah, I'm here to confirm that.
Not speaking from beyond.
So we're obviously we're both excited to talk to you. So tell us about your story, or what first prompted you to write this book, The Days of Guns and Razes.
There's just like so much stuff out there that's like, it's weird. Like, people that were involved and whatever, and even like secondary, third string characters or whatever, and they tell all these stories, and it's like, man, you guys were there and you're just getting it wrong, and I just don't. I did a history. I got a history degree, a history major, and all that, and I'm very into accuracy, so I just had to write it.
Mm-hmm. Was there what was out there that you felt that you needed to correct? Anything? Was there? You don't have to throw anyone under the bus. I mean, you could if you want to. It'd get us more press.
No, I
but
will.
You don't have to.
I'm good like that.
Okay.
I don't care, man. That's what buses are for, right?
Weed buses.
Yeah. So okay. So I mean, it's just a lot of stuff. Like, when I was a kid, I used to read rock magazines like crazy. Probably all of us did, and put the pictures up, like I had my Scorpions pictures and Judas Priest and all that stuff, and Iron Maiden and Led Zeppelin, everything, like the whole wall was, and I'd read the articles religiously. And then when the LA rock scene started, like the Crew, I mean, not started, but in my youth, when the new generation, like Motley Crue and Rat and Quiet Riot, and I'd read all these, but I wouldn't read like everything and follow up everything. And then when GNR came out, like, I knew the guys, and I would just read like everything. And then I started noticing, like, okay, like I'd read like Hit Parade or whatever, or Circus, and it would be like the same interview. Like, it wouldn't be like an actual. I knew the guys didn't do that interview. Like, it was just like, it's such secondhand information. And then one magazine would report what the other magazine said as if it was gospel, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's just, and then just over the years, like, those stories became fact almost, So
Wow, how times have not changed. It seems like that's what
crazy,
it is now.
Well, I love it because there's so many books out, not by the ones by Slash or Duff, but that are just not right. They'll throw in just fallacies.
Well, right, and and John is big on calling out people who've been putting out like poor facts or certain websites with certain facts.
Right.
So I mean, that's cool that you want to get that part of it straight. But what about? I mean, is that what the purpose of the book was, or is it also your story? Because you have an awesome
think it's
story.
my story. Yeah. That's like, I mean, I do say that in the book, like, theoretically this book's about me, but I knew, like, if you're going to throw like the greatest rock band of my generation in there, it's going to help people that wouldn't normally just want to hear my story,
right,
to give it a listen, so or read or whatever.
This was in your bio because, I mean, Guns N' Roses or not, this would make me want to read it. During a freak late summer snowstorm, under a pile of greasy newspapers at the back of a dilapidated tobacco shack, Raz Cue entered the world to absolutely no fanfare. He was the seventh son born to a merchant marine turned sharecropper father and a slightly intoxicated, pill-popping she-wolf. Now, if that doesn't smell sitcom, I don't know what does. So, do you want to start there? I don't know where you want to start with your
Okay, like I am go to a reading group, or I'm a writers group, and we all read each other's stuff. And
Cool.
When I submitted that, one guy's like, "Well, that doesn't sound like it's real, though. It sounds kind of like false." So
that's what I had to reread. I was like, "Was this about the?" I'm like, "Is this the beginning of your Weed Bus book, or is this the beginning of your?" But I was like, "That's him. That's you."
At Amazon, if you don't claim your writer's page, anybody could just put stuff up there. So I figured I'll just write something and put it up there. And I like fucking around with people, So.
Well, we should continue to get along. So then take us through. Do you want to start? I mean, obviously, we want people to get the book. And there is razq.com, right? Or Amazon is the best way?
Yeah, razq.com. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's all the better bookstores and shitty bookstores. And it's everywhere.
And I think, John, you got it on Kindle, right?
Yeah, no, I got it through Amazon. We just use the Kindle app because a lot of people don't realize you can do that. They're like, I don't have a Kindle. Like, well, you can get the app for your phone and for your iPad.
I didn't know that. Now I do.
Yeah, and your MacBook, so you can watch and read it anywhere. It seemed.
Yeah, iPad, everything. Yeah, Kindle. Like my Kindle broke. I prefer my Kindle just because it's just better. It's made specifically for reading. But I cracked it, so I just use my iPad to read on.
Can't take you anywhere, Raz.
I know.
So without giving away too much, what do you want to say? Where do you want to take us along your journey? Where do you want that to begin here?
I don't know. I figured you guys.
Where'd you
make shit up?
No. Well, I mean, it's a conversation. Like, did you? Because you said you're in Vegas now. Like, where did you grow up?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was born in Orange County, California.
Okay. And how old are you now, by the way?
I am 52 years old.
Oh, well, mazel tov.
Oh, there you go. Shouldn't I drink something when you say that?
Yeah, L'chaim, and you take a shot of Manischewitz or something like that. All right, so like, what kind of kid were you? Like, what got you into the rock and roll world? What led you? Because all of us, me, my normal co-host Scotto, we've talked about how we got into Guns N' Roses, how we've gotten into the band. Same thing with John. So how did you? I guess first get into rock and also get into Guns N' Roses and become friends with them. How take us along that path?
Well, I just was like a musical kid, like I was just, like a lot of people hated school and would kind of like, I was back, free range kids, like latchkey kids they called us or whatever.
Sure.
So my parents split up when I was like 4. My mom and me and my brother moved to LA. And we just lived we lived around people in our apartment building where like Floyd Sneed, the drummer for Three Dog Night, was our neighbor. Tommy Chong was our neighbor.
That explains a lot.
And, yeah. My mom was a big pothead, Left Wing, like all anti-Vietnam stuff, and all that, so hippie stuff. And she liked good music, like we'd listen to, like Jesus Christ Superstar and like Miles Davis, whatever, She liked the Beatles a lot, Peter, Paul, and Mary. There was this music everywhere. And then living in the hood, man, I really got into soul music. I mean, My first real love was the Jackson 5.
Wow.
I mean, I couldn't get enough of little Michael Jackson going back to Indiana.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Go ahead.
No, continue.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I bounced back and forth. In the book I explained, I ended up going to like 22 schools, and that was like 22 like separate schools. But a couple of them I went to like more than one. So if you count like all the times I enrolled in schools,
he's not exaggerating.
Like 26 or something like that.
Yeah.
But why did that happen?
Because I was a dick.
I would say he's a hellion.
Oh, because you just kept getting you were the problem child. You just kept getting kicked out of school.
Well, up until like junior high, I would just move around a lot, like back and forth between parents.
Okay.
But then once junior high started, like in 9th grade, I went to 5 schools in 1 year, 1 calendar year.
Wow.
And then in 10th grade, I went to 5 different schools, but in 3 calendar years, and then I just dropped out because it was like,
I mean, there's one you're there for like maybe 2 weeks, you know. I mean, I forget where you were, but I don't think
Bart
it's Fairfax
Simpson
or
over
not.
here. My
but,
God.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Bart stayed in Springfield. Well, he's got kicked out a couple times. I don't want to go on the Simpsons tangent. I can do that. I can do a Simpsons podcast if I wanted to. So that's. Then when did it happen? You're moving around, which is just an insane story, and I don't want to give everything away in the book. What happened with the accident, and what can I ask? And again, you're in a safe space here because I am also disabled. So I'm this is what I'm fascinated about, because like what I can do, what I've been able to do with my career, what I thought I haven't been able to do, what it's done to my psyche, what's fighting through that. So that part of the story is extremely fascinating to me.
Yeah, it was the summer between 9th and 10th grade. And my dad was a restaurant manager of a chain of restaurants called Mateo's Restaurant. It's like that's got a whole history of its own, like Frank Sinatra's favorite place and everything. It was just like, so my dad, like, oh man, if he wrote a book, that'd be awesome. But whatever. So there was a restaurant in Hawaii, and they sent him to turn it around. And I was like, hey Dad, I want to go to Hawaii. So yeah, he let me go, and then I got to break my fucking neck. So yeah, I just dove into a pool, man. It was like the simplest thing. Like I was out playing pool and drinking because my dad had like left town on a little 2-day trip to bang his mistress, and he told me, be nice to your stepmom while I'm gone. So I actually kind of felt guilty. I'm like, I'm just going to go home and watch TV and kick back. And I went home, and there's this show I used to like called Rat Patrol, and it wasn't on. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just go swimming. So yeah, and then dove into the pool. I was sitting in a jacuzzi, and I stood up, and I was like, let me jump in the cold water. And next thing you know, I was just floating face down, man. Couldn't move a muscle.
So it was instant.
Yeah, pretty instantly. I thought I was going to knock out at first because I used to surf.
Okay.
So you always hear these stories about dudes that like hit their head on the bottom and drown because they were unconscious. So then, I realized like, hey, I'm not going to knock out. Let me just try to swim. And then I couldn't move. Yeah, I was like, fuck. And so I was like laying there holding my breath.
And you're submerged in the water at this point, right? I mean,
face down, face down.
And then how long is it until someone pulled you out?
Right.
I mean, it had to be like more than a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Everybody thought I was dicking around.
I just couldn't believe it.
Wow, you could be dead, man. And I'm sure you thought about that a million times.
I mean, in the book, it seemed like you were alone, and then it just a miracle that somebody came upon you or something.
Oh, maybe I should clarify that.
Well, no. I mean, look. I mean, that's also my reading skills. I mean, I went back and I reread that section a couple of times. It is riveting. I mean, it's so much so that it's so well written. It's like one of the sequences where you know it's going to happen, yet you're still thinking you can get out of it. Like as you're reading it, like no. I mean, well, all right.
Was that difficult for you to talk about, to write?
No. Oh, that part, it's not difficult to talk about, but it was a bitch to write.
Okay.
Like I was writing like 5-10 pages a day, like in and out, like knocking them out. And then every time I came to that part, it would take me like a week to write a page.
Wow.
And the part where I get stabbed too, that was pretty rough.
Yeah, I forgot to mention.
Do we want to save that, or is that in the timeline?
That's afterwards.
All right, so
yeah, that's later. Yeah.
And how old were you when this?
I was 15 when I broke my neck.
All right, 15. Because obviously, because my disability started when I was 10. And it's something that's been demyelinating, slowly progressing. So obviously, it's different.
I was a late bloomer, man.
A late bloomer. I love that. See, see, your sense of humor is not handicapped. I love it. And actually, when I saw when I was prepping for this interview, when I was looking at your stand-up from 1990 and you came up from the walker, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be so weird. There are like 34 views on it, and you were hilarious. So I hope we get more views because we're hearing it now. You have a great sense of humor, which is
thanks, man.
Which is it's helped me.
That.
Yeah, it's helped me. I don't know about you, but it's helped me. So you're 15, and so like where were you? Did you have the walker then? Were you in a wheelchair? Take us to
No. I went to rehab, and that took forever because they had me in pediatric rehab, and they wouldn't make you do anything. Like I could just be like the dick that I was, and like if I didn't want to go to rehab to my therapy physicals, I just wouldn't go. So I was there for 8 months, and then I got out, and I was still, they called it independent with assist. So I needed someone to help me off the toilet. I needed someone to help me out of bed. But once I was in my chair, I was pretty, I'm kind of a slow roll already still because my accident only really. One side's totally paralyzed and the other side's weak.
Okay.
So I can't move the fingers on my right hand. I can't move my right leg, but my left leg, I can stand a little bit. Obviously, you saw the walker and everything. So
Sure.
So I got out, and then I was independent with an assist is what they called it. But my dad never, he didn't pay attention when they told him showed him the proper way to help me. So he would just lug me, and my ribs would hurt. So basically about a week after I got out of the hospital, maybe 2 weeks tops, I was fully independent because I just quit calling him. Like if I needed help, I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. If I fall, then he can come. And I got independent. And then about a week after that, I realized I could stand up. I'd never even tried.
Oh my God.
So I was getting in the car, and then he went inside to get the sliding board, and I just grabbed the car door. He had a 57 Chevy, which is badass, I might add. So I just held onto the car door, and then he came out, and he saw me standing up, and man, it looked like he saw a fucking ghost.
Wow, I mean, to be that brave and courageous, though, to do that at 15, that speaks a lot. And we're only at the beginning of your story. And just since we're talking to Raz, I want to acknowledge this, and hopefully you think it's funny. It's 4:20 here in New York City.
That's good. Yeah.
I can't peek out the studio though. John,
one thing about it is, I mean, I can't imagine there's something like this happening, and being able to read about it and give the first person point of view, and to be presented so objectively, and for the entire book to have such a sense of humor. I really found it one of the most inspiring things I've ever read. I mean, not just because of the accident.
Man. I appreciate that.
Totally. I mean, not because of the accident, but just your lifestyle itself is something. This is why I think that every Guns N' Roses fan, besides everyone else, I think just to read a great book, Guns N' Roses fan needs to get this book, because this is like the ultimate in like a rock and roll lifestyle without actually being a musician. But you became such and were such a part of this band that without, what did I say? I wrote something about it. I said without being sort of affected by being a band member, you can sort of have the greatest inside look into it. As almost like this ultimate fan in a way,
Ultimate fly on the wall.
The ultimate insight.
But he wasn't a fly on the wall. You were a part of it.
Well, that's what I mean.
Right.
It's like how do I don't know how to classify that right.
It's funny because what did they say? Oh man, I forgot already. I'm not even stoned, man. You just say 420, I get contact time.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I guess where are we in the story then? Well, okay, you said
I guess
don't want to finish.
For me, I think when did you first met Michael? Was he the first? It seemed to me that was the first connection.
Yeah.
About a year after I got out of the hospital, I went to enrolled in Marshall High School, and it wasn't accessible. There was just stairs everywhere.
Oh, I fucking hate that.
Then, it was worse back then. Man.
Oh, I can only imagine.
You could never find a fucking bathroom back in the day.
Oh.
Like now, you go somewhere, even great. It's a lot better now.
Yes.
So I was so I ended up going to Fairfax High, which is, we got the alumni from Fairfax High.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We were talking to Chris Webber about
Chris Webber, yeah. It's like the Degrassi Junior High of Guns N' Roses or something.
Yeah, it's everybody went there, it seems like, man. There's people, I look back now and, like see that they went there. I was like, well, I didn't know they went there. Just like they didn't rate, you know. So yeah, so I was going there, and then about 3 or 4 days in, like I think Mike used to show up on Fridays to find out where the parties were. So he showed up for the first time, man, and I just saw him. He walked in, he sat behind me, and a couple minutes after he showed up, the assistant principal came in and said, Michael Jagos, and starts looking around the room. And I hear this bag sliding towards me, like the Mike's duffel bag. So it's sliding towards me, and the teacher goes, the principal says to Mike, Jagos, come with me, grab your bag. And then I was like, oh man, I know there must be something worth it in this bag. So I was like, oh, that's mine. You know, so I just kept, and then Mike left, and the bell rang, and I grabbed the bag, and I was like, man, there's going to be some weed in here or something, man. So I was rolling out, and Mike came and was like, thanks, man, I got like a half ounce of shrooms in there. I was like, ah. So yeah, we just became fast friends, man.
Nice.
Like we like the same bands and everything like that. And then a couple weeks later, he's like, come check out my band, Pirates.
Okay.
Right.
And that was it, yeah. And then next thing I know, I'm going over there all the time, man, watching Pirates play. Tracii was fucking great, man.
So Pirates was, for those who don't know,
Pirates became LA Guns.
Right.
But that's what I was going to say. If anyone who's unaware of who Michael is, Michael was the Pirates singer, not necessarily the first LA Guns singer, but that's another that requires another explanation.
Okay.
I have a feeling we'll get to that.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, so I started going over there all the time, man. We go smoke pot and fucking beer bong a bunch of shit and everything like that. And Mike's brother was in a band called Shire.
Yes.
Okay.
And then one day Mike just warmed the band up because they had at the end of that school year, they had a show at Providence High School. They were playing like the end of the school year or whatever. And Mike was warming the band up so Dave Anthony, the singer for Shire, wouldn't ruin his voice. And this guy Izzy was playing bass. You know, he was like older than us. He was probably like in his 20, 21, 22, something like that. And we were all like 17. So fucking Izzy was great, man. I became a Izzy fan like the first time I saw him. He was like bouncing around, being cool, doing cooler than Fonzie.
Everyone says that.
Everybody, the coolest person you've ever met.
That's when you know it's true, when everyone says it.
And I'm talking about people like first in Indiana,
right,
and in LA,
and now know people who still So that's cool.
The funny thing is like Izzy. This is how cool Izzy is. Like he's not on Instagram, on Twitter, right? He's only following two people, Ron Wood and Keith Richards.
Oh, perfect.
You don't get any cooler than that, you know? Like.
No, why would he?
Why would he follow anybody?
Axl follows 0 people.
Yes, he does. That is too funny.
But
I guess that's cooler.
I spoke with Alan Santalisa. He was the Shire guitarist. I don't know if I told you about him or not, Brandon.
No.
But so of course he mentioned you when I was talking to him, and but I also was just curious how Izzy even got involved. I don't think I asked Johnny Crease, the drummer, and also Hollywood Rose drummer, how they got Izzy. Izzy just answered an ad in the Recycler.
Right.
I mean, I had never heard that. I always wondered how he came.
Oh, and he played bass.
Right. He had that white Fender bass. And I heard, and then Alan said he also already had his electric guitar. He already had that. So,
see, what I heard at the time after Izzy left, he was theoretically supposedly would never play bass again. Like he only took that. He wanted to be a guitar player, and I guess he took that gig thinking that like maybe they'd add a second guitar player or something. I don't think he was in Shire that long. I mean, I just saw him that one time, and then like 2 months later, I went to a Shire show just to see Izzy play. And they had the guy Mick playing bass, so
funny.
So
I'm curious, again, because from my perspective, as someone who has a disability, how you were treated by the bands. When you came in, and like, what were you using to, I guess, assist you when you're going to these shows? Because
I hadn't started using the walker yet. I came later. Like, I didn't start walking around until like 1989 or 90 or whatever.
So
I was just in a wheelchair.
Just in a chair. Okay. So then, how did they treat you then? Regardless.
Here's the thing, like back in the day, like when I had my accident, I was young, so I went everywhere because I only weighed like 150 pounds, and all my friends didn't have bad backs yet.
Right.
So, like, if there was stairs or whatever, anything, they just lugged me around everywhere.
I've done that. Yeah.
Everybody was cool. I don't think anybody ever, like, treated me different because I had a disability.
Good.
I mean, so I think, if anything, like, I got a little mouthy with people sometimes, and my friends would, like, kick their butts. So
we do that too.
Well, I mean, and you mentioned having to endure some punches to the face by one of your friends for something you said to somebody, and I forget which guy that was.
No, I think I got roundhouse. I've been punched more than once or twice since I've been in my wheelchair. But I got roundhoused in the head one time by a friend of ours. Where like I was talking shit about his sister.
That's the part. Yeah. All right. So
you crack me up.
Where were we on the timeline?
So with the timeline, that's when you saw Izzy perform that just that one time, right?
Yep, just once at rehearsal. Yeah.
So what was your next? Go ahead.
Then I went to the Shire show and he wasn't there, but I kept asking, like, what's up with this? Where's Izzy at? And they're like, oh, he's in a punk band called Rose or something like that. Okay. And then Shire, like a month later, I think it was February of '84 or something like that. Shire played a show with Rose because they were sharing drummers, Johnny Christ, right? So they were sharing drummers, and Sandy West was playing upstairs at the Madam Wong's West. It's on Wilshire Boulevard in Santa Monica or something like that, a couple miles from the beach. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, man, I'll move your guys' gear. I want to go to that show, man. Mostly to meet Sandy West. And that's the first time I saw Axl, and he just fucking blew me away like the first time, man. I was like, man, this guy's amazing. Just in sound check,
God, yeah, and your description of it is unreal. I love it.
So you describe like what it's like to see Axl here for the first time, and I'd rather that be read.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
I ain't telling.
No, I'm not reading it. I would rather people get the book and read it.
Oh.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I do good.
I do good.
It's amazing what 800 drafts or something. Just gets better and better.
I was reading about the amount of drafts. I mean, so how long did this book? I mean, before we continue along your path, how long did the book take to put together?
I actually finished the book about a year and a half ago, and it's just been sitting on a shelf.
Wow.
So
were you afraid to put it out?
No, I didn't think it was done.
Okay.
And I would let people read it, and then they were like, "Man, you need to get this published or whatever, or get an agent or whatever." And then, man, I just can't. I always kept, okay, let me get an agent. And I had on my little Outlook on my computer, I had a thing that's supposed to remind me every week, and it would be in bold letters, get an agent. And then I would just be like, man, I don't want to fucking have anybody else tell me what to do.
Yeah, I'm so glad you didn't do that.
Yeah, because they would have made me cut out the first, supposedly for a memoir, my book's a little long. So it's only a little over 300 pages, right? But theoretically they want about 15,000 less words than what it is. I was like, man, I don't want to.
To take away from that, it would have been an editor who does not understand, first of all, the band and your significance to it, and why it all needs to be in there.
I really think a lot of people have a problem editing their own stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when I wrote it, the first, after the third draft or whatever, I think what I finally put out the sixth draft or something, I'll talk a little shit when I say 40 or 50 drafts, but 7 drafts or whatever. So after the third draft, it was 200,000 words. Because I put every little damn story that happened in my life. So I really actually went through and cut out 30%, 35%, stuff okay, my story, it doesn't matter about these guys, cut it out. It's
but it doesn't.
So I went down. Go ahead.
It doesn't feel long. I mean, it's a really. Every section is so interesting. It's so complex, but you don't feel like. A lot of times you read a book, you're like, how much longer is? Not at all. You're just like, please don't let this end. Because you sort of.
I kind of feel that way now just talking to him because we haven't even gotten to the real GNR stuff yet.
I got to shut the fuck up.
Oh, I wasn't saying that. I was implying it.
I was thinking about it myself.
I was implying it, but okay. So when you
what's that like a New York echo, right? Hello, shut the fuck up.
It was what was it? Coming to America. Good morning. Fuck you too.
Good morning, my neighbors. Hey, fuck you. Yes. Fuck you too.
love that movie.
Oh, so good. Oh, quick sidebar. I dated John Amos's, the dad from that movie.
Yeah.
Not him, but his ex-wife.
Nice.
I don't know. It's just I feel good
You
about
dated
myself.
his ex-wife.
Yeah, who's slightly younger than he is, but still.
Okay.
I feel good about myself.
Just slightly, though, like a week.
So after you saw Axl for the first time and he just appeared to you before you, like some sort of rock and roll, like you can just tell that this guy had it. He was going to be.
Yeah, because I'm one of those guys that I went to every show, like whenever there was a band or a club or whatever. And so, I mean, just a couple months before that, I think I saw like Dio, and then I saw Black Sabbath with Ian Gillan singing, and like, Crocus, Accept. Like I've seen every band, Maiden. And it's like, man, this guy's right up there with them, even back then, and he just got better from there. So that's the thing, because like the next day I was like telling Mike and Dave, I was like, man, that Izzy singer, that guy singing for Izzy's great. And they started making fun of him. God. Like, because they're like the classical Halford, like,
Yep.
And it's like, I like the Bon Scott and like,
sure.
Yeah, McCafferty, whatever McCafferty from Nazareth, whatever. Mm-hmm. I just love that raspy voice shit,
Yeah.
So I was just like, man, you guys. And so I just didn't say nothing. I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah. But I'm like, I'm going to go see that band whenever I get a chance.
Sometimes it's better.
They broke up.
It's better just to know what's going to happen instead of telling the guys, what's going to happen.
Oh, sure.
I just couldn't believe like they couldn't notice, like just at least accept it.
Just total competition.
Guitar players, if they see a guitar player that's good or great, they'll say it. They won't say, "Oh, that guy sucks." But singers, yeah, every singer thinks they're the best in the world. But that's part of being a singer. You just have to think.
Yeah. Any kind of performer, like actor, singer, it's like I'm the best,
Yeah.
I mean, Michael certainly. Like when I first talked to Michael, he had to announce to me first, I am not a Guns N' Roses fan. You need to understand that. I said, okay, whatever, man. But you were around. I just need to hear your story. And so he never once had anything good to say about Axl. And so, I'm not going to talk the guy down.
Some of the stuff he said about Axl was really rough and very inaccurate.
Terrible stuff. I mean,
yeah, it's like.
Well, can we talk about this? Because I'm not familiar.
I don't know. I mean, it just seems like it would be repeating something that's not true, and then it would be like, well, Raz said.
He implied to me.
Yeah, Mike and Axl just did not get along even back in the day, but I don't know. It might have been something that predated.
There was a girl
like
thing.
Me being, yeah. I mean, they had like the same girlfriend at one point. Would actually Mike went out with her first, and then Axl, like later or whatever, and then another thing is like everybody liked, like they were in a common band together, right? And everybody just liked Axl better. Yeah. So for Mike, his
jealousy.
ego, it's like, well,
possibly.
Well,
like he left LA Guns, or after he left LA Guns, and then Guns N' Roses started, and they just got huge quick, and it's like, Mike, because Axl was in LA Guns, and they were drawing good. Then Mike came in the band, and they were drawing all right, and then the draw got less and less, and then Guns N' Roses started, and the draw just fucking blew up. So I mean,
connect the dots a little bit.
It's too bad. I mean, I like that first EP. I love it, actually. Especially the song "Don't Love Me," and I love Mike's vocals on it. But I remember I played that in Hollywood Rose for my wife, and she's just like, he sounds good. It's a little too operatic. It's a little too rehearsed. You listen to Axl, it's totally dangerous and out of control, and just like animalistic, and you're just more drawn to that because it's I don't know, it's more intriguing, I guess.
Yeah, Mike was a technical guy. Like he just did, vocal training and all that, and. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think Mike didn't have the drive that Axl had. Like, Mike was plenty talented enough, and he was plenty good looking enough, and he was in the right place. But he just didn't. He just was waiting for the world to come to him, instead of going out there and taking it.
And I attribute it also to location. This is a guy who grew up in Hollywood. Axl hitchhiked across the country to Hollywood from Indiana,
right?
And like if you see where Mike grew up, I mean, it wasn't like my impression wasn't from a wealthy family, but he has a really nice home. He took me to his.
Yeah, it's a bitchin' house, man.
Yeah, and behind it they still have the studio where they used to perform, and there's a banner on the back wall. It says Shire. It's really cool.
Oh, really?
It's got aluminum foil stars on it. This thing's it's back behind all this stored crap, and it's still there from 1980 or so.
I think if Mike had to survive, like if he didn't have it, so he's like you say, he just lived there, and it was like I mean, he had awesome, hot girlfriends and everything, like, you know, like strippers and bartenders, and right. So everything was just handed to him, so he didn't actually ever have to fight to survive.
Yeah,
and I think he had it in him. Like, if somebody would have just like, "Fuck you, dude, you're on your own. You got to do this." I think he had it in him, but he never got tested like that. So, you know.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about it because he implied you did not like Axl's voice in the studio, and I'm like, how is that possible? And so, you know,
and you're going to hear it in just the way you described it now, like how you just the
I love
cadence of your
Axl's
voice.
in the first time I saw him, and
you can,
not only can the guy sing, he's a hell of a fucking frontman too. You know, so it's like there was, you know. It's funny because like now they're on these huge stages or whatever, but back then, like on the club, man, it would just like he would just own the place, you know, like Axl. We're talking Axl.
Right.
So that's another thing. Like when Mike was in LA Guns, I would try to get him like, dude, you got to move around. You got to like get into it. Like my old saying is, you know, like if you don't love your band, why should I love my band? If you don't love your band enough to rock out, why should I rock out?
Right, man.
Oh, okay.
So
I like that.
So that's what I would tell him, you know. So yeah. So yeah, Mike's full of shit. Yeah, that's funny.
I mean,
he was full of shit.
I mean,
let's get back to the book that's not full of shit. So then,
okay, there you go.
Then, so you had seen Axl. Your friends are just like, for some reason, they don't get it. They don't get the voice. So what was the next interaction?
Oh, so because of my accident, I was like waiting on a settlement.
Okay.
So basically, that summer after I saw Axl, so Rose broke up after that. That was it. And then, so I didn't see any more shows. And then as soon as I got my settlement money, like in, you know, early summer to 1984, Tracii hit me up to invest in his band, the LA Guns, which it was Pyrus. But Mike had got fired and he reformed the band. And so I wasn't going to do it. And then I heard that Axl was available because I was like, I asked him as I was leaving, like, what's up with Hollywood Rose or whatever? He's like, oh, they broke up. And Izzy was jamming with this band called London, which is kind of a big local band out here.
Sure.
And out there. I'm in Vegas, I forgot. So Tracy's like, wanted me to invest in this band. I'm like, oh, I'll think about it, you know. And then when I heard that Axl was available, and I was like, man, if I could get Axl and Tracii together, man, that would fucking be huge. Because Tracy's a shredder. I mean, no matter what I think about him now, I mean, the guy can play guitar, you know?
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, I'll think about it. And then I went on a road trip with my brother, pick up my brother from Northern California, bring him back. And when I came back, I was like, yeah, Tracii, I'll invest in your band. And my whole reason was to try to get Axl to join LA Guns.
And this is all because they came to you for your settlement money, because obviously all those bands are broke.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, but you obviously, you don't care. I mean, you don't think they're taking advantage of you because of this. But you like, well, you know what? Like, I have this money, but it's going to be my way, and that's what you wanted Axl to be in LA.
I was kind of in charge, though. I mean,
good.
I still think, like, at some point, like, Tracii wasn't all in complete up and up with me, and it was pretty much like he was looking at the sack of money that he thought I had.
I mean, that's why I asked, because I mean, you can be like, just like you said, nobody was, you know, like, just like for me, my friends, like, forget I'm handicapped half the time until they, you know, I go to the elevator and, you know, I remind them, like, hey, I'm not Jesse Owens. I can't walk as fast as you can. But no, with the wheelchair, nobody cared. You go to concerts, all these things, but you never know if someone's going to take advantage of you. And back in the day when, you know, whoever's doing drugs and everyone's trying to be famous, you just never know if they are going to take advantage of you.
Yeah, I mean, I had paperwork, though. We went to a lawyer and everything, so it was
smart.
I mean, I didn't put that much money into LA Guns, so I mean, I guess, I mean, at the time, the way I figured it at the time after LA Guns broke up and the EP was done and everything, I put about $20,000.
Okay.
So we had our name everywhere. I mean, we had the billboards on top of the rainbow and matchbooks and posters everywhere and stickers. And we flyered the fuck out of Hollywood, man. Like, everybody heard about LA Guns.
I think people need to understand. How old were you at this point? You're
right.
18 or so?
19. I was 19.
But I mean, you're such a kid. I mean, now like people in their 30s and 40s are doing that and thinking they're kids, you know?
But they wouldn't be as intelligent as you were back then to get these contracts, to do these things, to invest your money, you know, you felt intelligently at the time. So, I mean, that's a lot. This is the 4 years from your accident when you're 15 to 19 to doing that. Just those 4 years is insane to me. I mean,
yeah, it was fun though. See, that's the thing. Like, I mean, it's about 20 grand, maybe 25 or whatever. And then I spent a lot. I mean, I only got 100,000 back then, 98,000, and I spent 15, 16 on a car, and then so. I bought a bunch of fucking cocaine though, man. There was that guy upstairs from used to sell blow, which isn't good, when you got like ATM.
Yeah.
So and just partying, buying everybody food and everything like that. Like I was like the meal ticket.
Right.
So.
That's what I'm thinking of. What was it, Rick James? It's a hell of a drug. It's an expensive drug. I think that's like with Nikki Sixx would always blow any sort of paycheck on drugs. I mean, they all did back in the day. So I mean, that was another thing I was thinking of. In addition to investing in the band, I have to think you would invest in their lifestyle, in your lifestyle.
Yeah, though I don't think I share, but I don't share unlimited.
Okay.
Like I'd give somebody a bump or something like that, or the pot was pretty much free flowing though. Like if we were smoking pot, like I'd get an ounce of pot or something, and we'd all smoke, But like when it came to the hard drugs, I mostly kept that to myself, and because the dealer lived upstairs, I would just go up to his house and we'd bring chicks up there and everything. We were buddies too.
So then.
Yeah, we all lived in a little. I had like a single apartment, which was like 2 miles from that studio, which was right by Sunset and Gardner. So everybody took showers at my place, and there was probably like 5 or 6 people living in the studio apartment. And that was where the offices, the LA Guns, Raz Records offices were. So yeah, it was kind of just like a place where everybody took showers and slept, wherever there was a place to lay down.
So the Sunset and Gardner studios, the one in which LA Guns rehearsed, that wasn't the one that eventually housed GNR, was it? I mean, that was in the same
yeah, it was right next door.
Okay.
So there was a bunch of garages, or that somebody had converted into studios. A guy named Billy, and he rented them out hourly.
Okay.
And it was like $11, $12 an hour or something. But we wanted a lockout, so I went over there. I was like, hey, can we get this as a lockout? And he's like, no, I'm do it hourly. And I go, just give me a price. So he threw this number at me, and he said like $650 or something like that.
A month?
A month, yeah. And I think he thought that I was going to say, oh, that's too much. I'm like, okay. And then like all of a sudden, he realized that because I owned a studio like 10 years later, and you put a lot of hours in. And I think he realized like, okay, I'm going to make half as much money, but I never have to be here.
Right.
And he was just like happier than a pig and shit at that point. So it became like monthly lockouts after that. And then he only had that one studio at first, a big room, but he had control of all the other garages, and he made them all into like monthly lockout studios. So the one that LA Guns had was Studio A, and then right next door to his office, what became Studio B is where Guns N' Roses ended up getting, like at the end of '85, I believe.
Okay.
So basically, like a year and a half later, they rented, like in the fall of '85, they rented it. And there was a band called The Wild that was in the LA Guns studio.
With Dizzy Reed.
Yeah, Dizzy, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've always wondered, how did they eventually find this place? I had this picture in my head of Axl and Izzy, walking down Sunset, like, hey, what are those storage facilities back behind there? Maybe we could rent one of those. So,
yeah, but you don't think they got a real estate agent? You don't think they no, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not.
It's a parking lot now, man. Right. No, what's weird is like, we'd throw these rager parties back there and like sell beer. Like brother Jojo was the stage manager for Guns N' Roses. And we'd sell like after hours parties, like 2 a.m. till like sun up. We'd sell beer out of the trunk of a 65 Mustang. We'd throw a bunch of ice in there, like 10 cases of beer, and just sell them for like $1 a pop. But we got that beer for free. So it was like all profit.
Perfect.
So yeah, it was great, but it's weird. Like only one time a cop walked down that alley. Like nobody would ever, like if you didn't know, it's weird how nobody ever wandered back there.
Well,
unless you knew to look.
It's not that visible from Sunset. I mean, you kind of got to walk up. At least the way it is now. Yeah.
Well, not from Sunset. Actually, it was from Gardner Street. It was the only entrance back there. There was a wall right there in between Guitar Center.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, so you had to catch it from Gardner Street, and the cop just came back there, and he was a detective, and he shined his light, and everybody's like, oh, cop, right? Because the flashlight means cop. Mm-hmm. So everybody's like stashing their beers, and he just looks around, and he's like, hey, did anybody run back here? Like, I guess he was following somebody, and they were like, no. He's like, okay, and he just left.
Left you.
But I mean, cops went back there, obviously.
Yeah, well, clearly, I guess so.
Well, I guess we
No, later, because I think Dizzy got arrested. They thought he was Axl or something.
I guess we ought to go into if GNR formation.
Yeah, so that's the next thing I want to get into is because you've seen them. Then now you're trying to invest in LA Guns, but only if Axl's involved with Tracii.
Yeah, we're in a. So Axl joins LA Guns. He eventually, after telling me 4 times, no, I kept hitting him up and I just gave up. And then he just called me out of the blue one day, and I guess he had gone home to Indiana and he decided that he was going to give Tracii a shot. And Tracy's good at schmoozing people, so he had talked Axl into it. And so then Axl,
but he didn't want to do it first. He didn't want to do it first.
No, because he said he didn't think that Tracii and him were on the same page musically.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And then I remember Tracy's just offer him a pair of leather pants and he'll join. And I was like,
Axl's that easy, huh?
yeah, and I was like, I don't want him in the band if that's what it fucking got to do. So when I told Axl that later, I was like, hey, when he called and said he wanted to join, I was like, hey, dude, I told him what Tracii said, and Axl was like, I wouldn't join a fucking band if you gave me a car and a house if I wasn't into it. And I'm like, oh, okay, good to hear.
Yeah,
so yeah, he did. Yeah. And then, man, it was great, man. LA Guns with Axl was great. Can you believe that?
I know. How long were they a thing?
Not that long, man. I think, fuck, I forgot what I wrote in my book. Was it 5 shows they said or something like that? Maybe 6?
I think so.
It was
yeah. Troubadour was first.
Yeah, basically Axl quit on Halloween.
Okay.
Halloween night, we had this little thing at the Rainbow where he got in an argument with the Michael, the assistant manager.
Okay.
And then I got kicked out too. And I got mad at Axl. I was like, you got me fucking kicked out, man. There's all those whores in there right now. And he's like, I can't believe you're mad at me. And he quit. And I was bummed. I was like, fuck, dude. I mean, I pretty much, I'm a dick. I'm sure I got in his face and talk shit sometimes, but not most of the time. I kind of deferred and just okay, dude, yeah, whatever. We'd argue. Everybody argues,
Sure.
But then, he quit over that. But then he told me later, later after, when he was getting ready to kick Tracii at LA Guns later, the next year, that he quit because he didn't like Tracii. He was tired of Tracii's shit because Tracii, Axl wanted to play in a band that was kind of like what Guns N' Roses became, and Tracie's a metalhead. So Tracii told Axl he wanted to do a blues bass kind of hard rock Aerosmith-ish,
and
thing. And the next thing you know, he's playing Sabbath and metal stuff,
Well, and Axl already knew Slash at this point.
Oh yeah, they'd already been in Hollywood Roast together.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, because I'm bouncing all over. Sorry, guys.
No, but Axl.
Well, that's why you have it all in a book.
But but Axl had already started recording with LA Guns. They already stepped.
Yeah, we were recording. Yeah, we had done.
Oh, so more than just live shows.
Yeah. So we did a live shows, and then we were recording, and Axl had laid down vocals for Heartbreak Hotel because they covered that. What you call it, Elvis Presley tune,
right?
And he laid the track down for that, and then the producer guy was a dick. I like him. When it came to interacting with Axl, he was a dick. He would try to get Axl to stand still in the studio and don't move around and everything like that. So they had a confrontation about that, and then Axl left, and then I told the producer guy, I was like, look, Chuck, don't tell him what to do. Just let him sing the song. That's how it works. If he needs to dance around when he's singing, let him dance around. And then, we never made it back in the studio after that. The guys just finished the tracks, the basic tracks of the non-vocals. And then Axl was supposed to come in, but before then he quit.
Wow. So then bring Michael in, and then...
and the rest is
that was
LA Guns history.
Yeah, that's when we brought Mike in. Yeah, back then. So
but you got fired, though.
They get what?
No, go ahead.
I never got fired.
No. You were saying that you were the first GNR. At least it said that.
Oh, manager to get fired. Yeah, that was just a joke.
Oh, I guess I took it seriously.
No, I don't.
But I'm saying they kicked you. Well, I guess what I was. I used the wrong terminology for this part of it. They kicked you out or whatever to say goodbye, and you had to leave all the whores because of you and because you were Axl's buddy.
No. So Mike joined. This is when Mike joined. So it was a couple weeks later. Tracii wanted to audition singers, and he was like, no Mike. But I kind of fuck, Mike knows the songs. We got shows booked. right? And like, let's just do this, finish this EP. I'm thinking purely business right here, you know, and I'm not understanding how the art process works. Like, if Tracii doesn't want to jam with Mike, no matter what I do, I can't make him jam with Mike. But I'm thinking that I have the power to do something like that, which I really didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why the band LA Guns with Mike and the EP lasted for another 4 months, was because I still had money. So I was still in control.
Gotcha.
But once I went broke, I mean, the record was done, and like that EP got done, and like nobody was, Oli was the only one that would help me go out and try to sell it. Like, everybody else was just like, once the EP was done, it was just like, Rob was busy, like, breaking up with his girlfriend in the Valley, you know, one of those slow breakup things. So he never had time to go out and, like, if people that don't know LA, like, if you live in the city, and the Valley is like a whole world away. So if you're in the Valley, you're kind of like lost to the human race.
I got to get my ass out to California one of these days, because I'm like so lost. The furthest out west I've ever been is Minnesota, which is not fucking
You
count.
have to go out.
I
Go
know.
west, young man.
One of these days. So what?
Okay, so then, so later, Tracii and me are living in a house together in North Hollywood, California, and LA Guns has a show that's booked. It's like, even though there's no band, because he says no Mike. So Axl starts hanging around, because JoJo, my brother, was friends with Axl. Tracii was friends with Axl, and Tracii wanted to start another band with this guy Don Costa, who played with Ozzy for a minute. So Tracy's thinking he's going to start a band with Tony Richards, the Wasp drummer, and Axl and Don Costa. So Axl's coming around, and everything's cool. We're getting along fine. There's no animosity about the LA Guns thing or whatever. We're just friends hanging out. And then, so Hollywood Rose played a one-off show in, I guess, February or March, probably March of 1985. And they got Robbie, the LA Guns drummer, to play the drums. Then after that show, like a couple days later, you know, everybody's hanging out, and I was like, Tracii tells Axl, like, hey, we got this show at the Troubadour, LA Guns show. Will you do the show? Like, and Axl just immediately says yes. I was like, oh my God, I could not believe it. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Complete opposite of what it was before, yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, he quit, and Tracii wanted me to beg him back when he quit LA Guns, and I was like, I didn't do anything. Like, how can I? I'm not one of those people that can apologize when I don't think I did anything wrong.
Sure.
Even if I did do something wrong, if I don't think I did something wrong, I'm not going to apologize. So, which I probably should have, but in retrospect, so you can't at the Troubadour, you couldn't cancel a show. You have to. So LA Guns has a show booked, and you can't cancel it. And if you don't play, you can never play there again.
Oh, wow.
And like I said, I got $20,000 into promoting this name, LA Guns.
Oh, wow.
And I got an EP. And at this point, I don't realize this EP, nothing's ever going to happen with this EP. I'm still thinking, like, okay, we're going to get the band together, and we're going to go on the road, and we're going to sell some records. So I was like, I got to keep this name, because you have to play the Troubadour. So then when Axl said he'd do the show, I was like, that's awesome. So so then Tracii went and made a flyer for LA Guns with Axl's little picture and everything. And then when Axl came back to check out the artwork, and I was like, I had already heard the name Guns N' Roses, because Mike got mad at Tracii. I was like, if you do that Guns N' Roses thing, I'm going to quit. And I was like, man, that's a great name. So, yeah, bouncing back and forth, sorry. So then flash forward back to March when Axl said he'd do the LA Guns show. I was like, hey, why don't you, if you're going to do that Troubadour show, why don't you do that Guns N' Roses thing you're talking about and bring Izzy in? And then Axl was like, I'll ask him. And the only reason I said that is because I just wanted to clear the LA Guns name. I just wanted to keep the name because I legally owned the name, and I wanted to be able to, whatever band I in the future put together, because I thought I was Peter Grant at that time. I was like, whatever band I put together, I will just have them play under the name LA Guns, and I can play the Troubadour.
You just needed that branding. That's all you needed. But what was the quote, the air quote, Guns N' Roses thing that was previously mentioned? Was that mentioned?
Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
So Tracii, this is when LA Guns, a week before, like the last show they ever did with Mike, and Tracii, I come to the studio over there at Gardner, and Tracii had fired Mike, and Mike's just pissed drunk, and I I guess Mike had pawned something that belonged to Tracii or something like that, but it wasn't that big of a deal. It was something that was sitting around the studio. Mike just got like $15 so he could buy some more happy hour drinks or whatever. I mean, basically the shit would have been out of pawn the next day. But so Tracy's like, I calmed everybody down. I was like, come on, dude, we got to do this show at the Cuts Club. You can't break up the band now. We got a record out, blah, blah, blah. And so I got Tracii calm down. But then Mike was still being a dick. And then Tracii just laughed. And as Tracie's leaving, Mike yelled, and if you do that Guns N' Roses thing, I'm going to fucking quit. And then, like, when Mike went back inside the studio, and I said to JoJo, I go, hey, what's that Guns N' Roses, man? And he's like, oh, that's a jam band that Tracii and Axl were thinking of doing together. I'm like,
oh my
that's
God.
a great name.
Jam band.
Yeah. Supposed side project.
Yeah, right.
So I guess nobody wanted me to know because Tracii, was in LA Guns, and it's like, and I'm investing in his band and managing his band. It's like, why would he do a side project, so.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Wow.
It's a great name. Like, you guys remember the first time you heard that name? It's just one of those names you hear and you're like,
I'll never forget it.
I still think it's the best rock and roll name ever. So what you reiterate what you just said. You're like, oh, that's a cool band name. Like, that's like a joke now when you hear something like weird, Purple Monkey Dishwasher. Well, that's a great band name. But you,
great name for a band name.
I never when I heard in the Larry King interview with Slash last couple of years, Larry King's like, it's a great name.
Wichita, hello.
I remember when down in the studio when Guns N' Roses was over there at Gardner, like right before they got signed. So they were pretty big around Hollywood, and like not only famous but infamous,
Yeah.
So people would come tell us like, hey, we got pulled over, and the cops were like, hey, what band are you in? And then it would say the name of their band, and they're like, "Oh, good. We're looking for those guys in Guns N' Roses." Like the cops, even before they were signed and before they were world famous or whatever, the cops they heard that name, and it sticks in your head, and they heard that they were trouble.
I mean, it sounds like a gang, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember Axl used to say, like, man, if I ever get pulled over, okay, let's not give an Axl quote. So I know a singer that used to say. He'd say, like, if I get pulled over and they ask me what band I'm in, I'm going to say I'm in a band called Black Fag Cop. Because that was back in the day when it was like the LAPD was all white bread, like the pre-Rodney King days where it was like all a bunch of tough white nationalist fucking cops. So
then where do we go? So that's where the Guns N' Roses thing happened. Then I guess the name. I think it's so funny that it's called the Guns N' Roses thing.
Well, I think I mentioned this to you on just writing with that. There's a crazy war almost between certain fans who love to declare that the original Guns N' Roses was the Appetite lineup, and then there's more purists who say, no, original is original.
Oh, sure.
Let's get the facts out. Rob, Ole, Axl and Tracii and Izzy. Now, like, what would, the Ole detail is something that I don't know if we should talk about, because I feel like readers of the book should get into it, because that people love to throw the.
But I guess I don't know if this is what you're leading to.
Okay,
who would you say the original Guns N' Roses are? Who would you say?
Okay, if I answer this, I want everybody to promise they're going to go buy the book. No, just kidding.
No, they should.
So, buy the book. Yeah, buy the book.
Yeah, I hope so.
They need to buy it, because this is really important.
When I think of the original Guns N' Roses, I mean, Ole was in the band, but he never played a show.
Yeah, see, that's
so. I mean, Duff was like the very first show. So, but Robbie on drums and Tracii Guns on guitar was. I mean, I think of that as the original lineup.
Yeah,
with Duff.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like band members, I think like Slash and Steve, somebody said something that Slash said they remember playing with Ole. Here's something like this is what Ole told me.
Slash remember playing with Rob, definitely.
Yeah,
but then Rob said he didn't play with him.
I don't think Rob and Slash ever played though.
Yeah.
So, okay, because Ole told me, like he didn't say anything when I told him that he was out of the band. They got a new bass player. Like he just was like, oh, whatever. And then when me and him went to see the Cult, Guns N' Roses opened for the Cult after Appetite for Destruction came out. Mm-hmm. And on the way home, me and Ole drank like 20 Heinekens or whatever. I might not have been operating a motor vehicle, but Ole told me he's like like bummed out on the way home. He's like, why am I not in that band? I should be getting my dick sucked in like 20 different languages right now. And then I was like, dude, you made your choice, you know, at the time, you know, don't regret, you know, march forward. And he's like, I didn't choose to not be in that band. But then, so what happened, he said, when I told him he wasn't in GNR anymore and he went to pick up his gear at the studio, Slash and Steven were over there jamming. Because Slash was in a band with the bass player, Willie Bass, who owned the studio where GNR rehearsed. So Ole went to pick up his gear. Slash and Steven are there, so he starts jamming with them. So they're thinking they're just going to get a singer and start a band. So Ole actually lost out twice on GNR.
Man.
You know, so he's in GNR, and then he's forming a band with Slash and Steven, and they end up going into GNR.
Oh,
Man.
Oh my God, it's like the Buffalo Bills.
And I don't know if you know.
Yeah, it bummed him out, man. He was a sad man, about all that.
And when he died, 1990-ish or something?
Yeah, you know, I think it was 91.
All right, so even with all the musical chairs going on, you know, and I mean, I don't know how else to put it. You've been you were still involved though. You were still in the camp.
Yeah, so I made a decision early on that I would rather be a fan. And like, see, the thing is, when you like involve business wise with a band, you have to fight with them, and you have to argue, and you have to herd them around and try to manipulate and do all this shit, just because you got to protect your investment and your time.
Sure.
But I was like, man, I just love this band. I just want to go. I want to be able to drink 20 beers at their shows instead of drinking 2 beers, you know, and I don't want to have to count heads at the door to make sure like we're getting paid and all this shit. And I realized that bands don't need a manager when you just start out. You need a manager when there's actually something to manage. But at that point, it's like, just let them go and see what happens. So by the time, I got in a little argument with my brother, and he was staying at my house, and Axl was staying over there too. And, I got in an argument with my brother, and then I threw in some shit talking to Axl at the same time, and they both stormed out. And I didn't see GNR for like 3 months after that. I just like boycotted them. I was like, I'm one of those people, like I hold a grudge with both hands. So I didn't go see the band, nothing. And then I happened to see Izzy on the freeway. We were stuck in traffic, and he's like, hey, Raz, come to our show tonight. We're playing the country club. And that was I hadn't seen him like all summer. Like, I'll go. And it's like, I hear you guys are opening for Jet Boy. And he's like, no, we got to switch to headliners. So I went to the show, and that's for the first time they played Paradise City. Wow. And I was like, man, that song, I thought it was maybe it was Welcome to the Jungle. Whatever. So
either one.
So I remember, it was Paradise City. I think they played at that show. And I remember thinking, man, they're doing a cover. It was that good. I was like, man, this song's that good. And then they got the Gardner studio after that, and they were signed like within like 3 or 4 months. So
amazing.
They got big so quick, like even around town by LA standards at the time. Mm-hmm. I think it was a year like a year and like 2 weeks to the day they actually played their first show. They were signed to a major label, which is kind of incredible. But they deserve it, you know. At least the A&R people are doing their job.
So then how do you feel? Because in a way, you kind of, you saw this Axl guy, like, I got to get, do something with him. And you're investing all this money into LA Guns. And then you wanted to invest if Axl was involved. So how did you feel when you saw someone, this band from essentially your hometown? I know, not everyone's from LA in GNR. But how did you feel? Did that give you a sense of, I don't want to say pride, or like, hey, I was right about these guys. I was right, or hey, these are my friends. Yeah, but how did you feel like when that happened?
You know what? I'm so used to being right about stuff. That,
Fair enough.
I
just don't tell that to a woman.
Oh yeah, yes, dear. You know what? I knew it, and it's like, you know what? Nobody knows that some band's going to become like, the biggest thing of their era. Or whatever. I knew they would sell records, and I knew they were going to be huge. But who knew that they were going to be playing stadiums like 30 years later still,
Because I just saw Lady Gaga here at Citi Field, and it's like my first show of like that. I usually just go to rock shows. I'm seeing Danzig.
I love Gaga, man.
I think she's incredible. I wanted to put out a straight rock record. I would love her to collaborate.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I would love her to collaborate with GNR. We'll talk about collaborations later on.
Okay.
But so when I went there, I lost my train of thought. I'm not even high either.
Something about Gaga.
Yeah, no, I know it was about.
Did you see her years ago or something?
No, I just saw her.
But I mean, did you have a foresight? Like you?
Oh no! Now I know. Now my brain cells are aligning finally. So I'm acquaintances with some local bands here in New York City. One of them are the Dirty Pearls, and I've heard about them for quite a while. And I knew that they were friends with Lady Gaga. And they're Dirty Pearls are still doing great, headlining the Gramercy Theater, doing a lot of things in New York City. But when Gaga, thankfully I went to the Monday show when it didn't rain. The next day it poured, but the lead singer Tommy London, he went on stage with her to perform and kind of opened the show. And that's when I've interviewed him in the past, just to see, it's like, did you notice this this Stephanie girl when you were just performing in clubs that she would become Lady Gaga? And it sounds like kind of like what you were saying, Raz, that you know that this person has talent, but you just never can imagine the heights that it would go to.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, there's people that they're really good and even great or whatever, and then there's the people that are legendary, and it's like they're just so far above, like, the next level below them. Like, I had a rehearsal studio in the Valley, like, after the GNR days or whatever. And I had a bunch of people like on their way up and on their way down that would practice there. But let's say like a band, like Robin Crosby from Rat used to practice at my place. And he'd be in a room playing and people would come in and it's like, who's that? That guy's great. Right? So it's like, but there'd be like all the other time there'd be people playing that were really good and people wouldn't say anything, like John 5 or whatever, John Lowry at the time. He jammed over there and people would come in like, that guy's great, who's that, or whatever. Or like like it's just weird. Like people just sound better, different, louder, I don't know if louder. There's just something about it, that
you were able to tell.
Stands out.
You were able to tell even as a young kid. So we don't want to take up because we appreciate the time. We've been talking to you for almost an hour, and we don't want to give away everything in your books. But
we're selling books.
Oh, I hope so. I definitely hope so. But what happened after that with your life, your involvement with these players? Like, who do you still talk to? Because the fact that you remember half this shit is amazing in itself. And
all the pot I smoked too.
I know. So after they signed, take us through your life a little bit. Not like again without giving away too much.
It was cool, man. Like watch, it was cool. Like when they first come out, it's just like, I think their record didn't come. Appetite for Destruction didn't come out until like a year and a couple months after they got signed. So we were all kind of thinking like, like the circle of friends, like, oh, this ain't going to happen. These guys, they're not going to put a record out. Because usually bands, they get signed and their record's out 6, 8, 9 months later. So finally the album came out. They did the Live Like a Suicide, and that was pretty good. And they were playing, but then Appetite for Destruction came out, and then they started playing like the Cult. The Cult was my favorite band at the time. So it's cool. Like, here's my buddies like opening up for the Cult. And I'm sitting side stage, like watching them, and there's a story from my book, man. So I'm in it, watching the GNR from side stage, and I got about 5 or 6 Heinekens in me, and I decided to go take a piss. So I set my beer on top of a stack of power amps in a road case, and I'm in the bathroom, and like the GNR is like rocking out, and all of a sudden it's just silent. So I was like, fuck, let me go back out there. So I go out, and right as I get there, Axl's like the first one off the stage. He's at the bottom step, and he storms past me. And then like the rest of the guys kind of straggle past. And I go to Steve, and I go like, what happened? It's like, I don't know, the PA went out. The monitors went out. So I look, and my beer is like sideways, and there's like, I guess it spilled on the power amp or something. And it just caused like a chain reaction of like shutting down the circuits.
Perfect.
And then later we were at the suites or whatever, those suites where we used to do drugs that were Nicky OD'd. I can't remember. Embassy Suites over in Hollywood. The GNR had like some rooms over there, and we're hanging out, drinking, doing maybe other stuff. And there's somebody like surmised that the Cult had cut the power to the PA because they were jealous of GNR. And I was like, I don't think they did that. I think it was probably just, but I didn't want to tell anybody.
Yeah. Hey, it's
like,
it's almost,
I don't know what happened, Wink.
Yeah.
It's almost 30 years. We can tell the truth now.
Yeah, I was trying to trying to let them know, don't be mad at the Cult or whatever. But yeah, so they had got it. Somebody had got it into their head. Maybe like that the Cole was jealous, and it was the GNR's home crowd, and that they had done that. And I was like, I was sitting there like, oh man, I got my favorite band in trouble, and it was like, I can't say like, hey, I fucked you up, or the party supplies my stuff.
It's like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. But GNR,
yeah, it was crazy, man.
And someone just put a video clip from the street scene in '86 up, and Axl. He says, thanks to the people in front of the stage. You spilt water on the electrical cables. The show's over. And he points to somebody. He goes, and you, fuck you.
I got trampled at that show, man.
Oh, man.
People weren't. That's something else too that I always have to be mindful of. People, like when you go to shows, I usually try to get like for Gaga. I mean, I was sitting down, like at handicap seats. But if I'm trying to think, like for Danzig, there's a place called the Paramount on Huntington. When I saw George Thorogood there, I can go like next to the stage and be away from like crazy people. But I think it was at a Coldplay show where they had somebody in a wheelchair crowd surf.
That was awesome. Yeah, I saw that on YouTube. Man.
Yeah. So I mean, but you were right up there, man. You were fucking brave. I love it.
No. What happened was I think the Circle Jerks was supposed to play later. That stage was set up at the back door of Parker Center, which is this. So after GNR played, it was like a punk night. Was it Circle Jerks? Yeah,
Circle Jerks. So there was supposed to be.
Yeah, there was supposed to be, or maybe Agent Orange, but there was some punk band. So the cops just started streaming out of the back door, and in full riot gear and everything like that. And they're like, "This show's over," so they canceled the show. So I moved. I was like, "Fuck it, I want to get out of here," right? So the girl I was with, like, I want to stay and see. I'm like, no, they have riot gear on. That means there's going to be a riot. It's like, so I went around the corner, and I thought I was in a safe spot. I guess it was just there was only one way out. So once the cops started charging the crowd, everybody, and they just trampled me, man. Like I was sitting there, like got knocked out of my chair, and it was like,
Jesus. Oh my God, dude.
But according to the news, there was no riot.
Fake news.
Great.
Unbelievable. Man, Raz, you've had such an insane life. Do you speak to anyone in the camp today? Are you involved with anyone today?
No, I mean, I saw Robbie yesterday, but that doesn't count, does it?
Sure. Sure. I mean, because you knew these guys back in the day, so I don't know if it's just the way life goes. You just fell out of touch.
Yeah, you just... What happened was, like, okay, so after they got done with the Appetite for Destruction tour or whatever, they all kind of came, and all of a sudden my broke friends had tons of money, and they were, like, buying fast cars and dating supermodels and everything like that, and then, like, I'd see them around, and then I opened a studio, and then I started working, like, 16-hour days, and when the Use Your Illusions albums came out, I couldn't take time off, I couldn't go to the tours or anything, and then I ran into Axl over at Dizzy's house a couple of times, like, after the Use Your Illusion tours were over, and everything was cool and everything like that, but I don't know, I never said, hey, I didn't go to your show, and he's like, hey, you didn't go to my show, like, he don't care, he's got, how many of us still hang out with people that we hung out with?
That's true.
Oh, right. That's why I was posing it in that way. I mean, it doesn't have to do anything to do with the celebrity. It can just be life itself, just the way it goes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. People change, things get different.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what's interesting about your book is that, first, I wanted to say that you give such a great impression of Axl as a person, besides being a performer, that most people don't touch upon in any book that's been out there. But also, you go into what it was like seeing him and sort of showing changes that he was experiencing, the pressures that were coming on him, without even touching upon it, just in terms of how he started dealing with people, sort of maybe closing himself off a little bit. And to me, that was one of the more heartbreaking moments of the book. And I think people need to read that and learn that. And like this guy goes through being this kid from Indiana, like aspiring artist. All of a sudden, he explodes, and maybe he just wasn't prepared for the change that I was going to.
Well, that's what's fascinating a lot about about not only your book, Raz, but just in general. That's all we try to do here on this podcast. Of course, we're just talking about Guns N' Roses and we like the rock and roll, but just going in depth and finding about the emotions and the players. And we've talked about that. Well, like why I identify with Axl and depression and anger. It's deeper than just the outside. The lyrics are nice, but like what's behind the lyric? What are the stories story behind the lyrics. So, finding out about your story is just a complimentary to everything else that we've been trying to do here.
In order for anyone to understand why you were in the position that you were with them, is because of your life, your lifestyle, and your life. To me,
had a lot of.
I thought it was so crazy. I just said it was just like madness.
So, what are you up to now? In addition to, of course, you finishing the book, or is it ever all just trying to get that out there, or what's?
Yeah, just I'm in like full book selling mode and promotion and everything like that. So it's weird, man, because I guess that would have been one of the benefits of getting an agent and going for a regular publishing deal and everything. Would have been like I wouldn't have to worry about all this stuff right now. But so I'm just kind of like getting my bearings, like figuring out what's working and what's not working. So yeah, I've just been spending my days doing that. I should be writing more. I got like 3 projects I'm working on that just kind of got back burner and don't even. I used to write like 500,000 words a day. I'm lucky if I get like 150 right now. So I just got to get back.
I kind of know what that's like.
No, but I mean, I'm just incredibly impressed by your life, which you still have so much more to continue. And this book is incredible. John, I was reading, I don't know if you've ever frequented Raz, My GNR forum. It's like one of the bigger Guns N' Roses forums. And before this interview happened, I started to see chatter about this book. Hey, did you read this? Did you read this? No, I didn't know about this. I don't know about this guy. And
I've been posting as much as possible. So there's a GNR fan spot, and whenever anyone mentions any other book, I'm like, no, get rid of that. You have to read this.
The story is just inspirational. I know I'm finding it. I can only imagine what it can do for other people, because that's something I've dealt with. What can I do when I'm handicapped? We're going to concerts and stuff, because I want to be that's why I got into radio, wanted to be a part of being around bands and stuff. It's difficult. So the fact that you're here, you sound good. That's always important.
I'd be all high. I want to fucking talk about it.
Great sense of humor, dude. I mean, I'm being completely honest that I was cracking up watching your stand-up from 1990, or you're looking like you're wearing some David Brenner blazer.
Isn't that awesome? I love that jacket. Yeah, I was a 40 regular back then, man.
You were funny. Do you still do comedy? Like, because do you write comedy at all?
Well, yeah, that's my book.
Yeah, the book is hilarious.
In addition to your sense of humor, but do you ever write straight comedy? Because you're clearly a very talented guy.
I write jokes, but I don't do anything with them. Oh. It's weird because, like back in the day, I thought it was really funny, but then I watched that and it kind of makes me cringe. I was just like practicing putting stuff up on YouTube when I put that up there. I was working on my little editing software.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm hoping
I cut all the bombs out. It's only 6 minutes, but that was like a 45-minute show.
Oh, okay. You didn't have to say anything that. That's funny.
I know. I'm just kidding. It was only like 10-minute show.
No. It was funny. It actually made me laugh when you're going up with there in the walker. I just kept thinking, like, if I ever do stand up and I'm going up there with the cane, what would be the thing that I would say?
I got a bunch of handicap jokes, man. If you need some material, man.
Maybe we got to collaborate, man.
Yeah, no problem, dude. I got them for you.
If you're ever out here in New York City, we would love to have you in studio. It's semi-handicap accessible. I get here every day, so it's usually okay.
And it's cool.
There you go.
Parking in the city is a bitch. Yeah. That's the difference. I had to get a special, like a little quick sidebar, a special New York City handicap parking pass in addition to the state parking pass. Because, you got
to get 2?
Yeah, because apparently I have to prove myself. Like I'm fucking Kaiser Soze here faking it.
I remember one time I went to Knott's Berry Farm, and it's an amusement park out here, and it used to be when you go to an amusement park, if you're in a wheelchair, you just go to the front of the line.
Yeah.
But enough people, I guess, would just show up with wheelchairs. So they started making you go to the office and check in to get a pass.
Yes.
So I rolled up there and I was like, hey, I'd like the pass through the handicap. And they're like, can you prove that you're handicapped?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
I was like, well, would you like to see the scars on my ass? Smell the fungus between my fingers.
I mean, it's I've been there, Raz. That's what I'm saying. Like, I identify. I've gotten yelled at by cops saying, that's not your pass. Because I just don't look, handicapped. Like people think that it's part of my ensemble. Like I'm some sort of pimp.
You probably realize this is like the old ladies are the ones that give you the evil eye. That look the worst. Like 65, 70-year-old.
Yeah.
You can't even sit in your car and eat a burger in a handicap spot. They just walk by and like. walk around, look at your head, your license plate.
Yeah, to see if you're legit. So even if I'm just hanging out, I just put my handicap pass up. I only come across like at concerts when I went to go see Blue Oyster Cult. I'm like, oh, here's my brethren. Everyone in canes and wheelchairs had seen Blue Oyster Cult. So it's razcue.com, correct? Do you have Twitter? Do you have Facebook? How can we find you?
I'm on Facebook, and you know what? I tried the Twitter thing, but no Twitter. And then
you got to change that, man. If you got one-liners, if you got jokes, you got to get Twitter out there. You got to get into a Twitter fight with Tracii Guns.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, that's how you're gonna sell your book. You got to get into a Twitter fight with somebody.
That would involve people giving a shit about Tracii, though, wouldn't it? So stuff like that is what you're saying, right?
Right. So before, I wanted, because I've always tried to be careful, because I get your sense of humor. You don't give a shit, and you would tell me if. Oh yeah,
I don't give a fuck about nothing, man.
I love this guy, man. We got to have you on again. So what?
All right. Yeah,
so
sure.
Something that we've covered with this episode will go long. We've covered about like what would this reunion bring. Of course, whether it's Adler, whether it's Izzy, that's a boring conversation, but we've had it a million times. But like the side players, like when we had Chris Webber on, would he ever do it? I mean, obviously he was minor, but it could be a fun thing to do. It was Matt Sorum, of course. Tracii Guns we've brought up. So we want to talk about like a little bit about Tracii, because you said no matter about your feelings about him, you said that earlier, and I guess I didn't probe that you felt he was still a great musician. So why don't you not like him now? Like what do you? Like, is there something? the butthead giggle.
No, it's funny because some people that read my book, they know both of us or whatever, are like, man, you killed Tracii in there. Because
we don't know. I know we also want to acknowledge, because we put out the invite to Tracii, and hopefully we'll get him on the show, because we always want to be fair, but we have you on now. So
okay, the deal with Tracii is it's not anything like I was disappointed that he broke the band up and not giving a shit about like selling a record. Like he could have hung on for another summer. That's all it would have took, But then we wouldn't have Guns N' Roses. So that's kind of cool that he fucking broke the band up, right? Because then now we got Guns N' Roses. So what really pissed me off was when the LA Guns reformed, and then I started managing them again, and it was Paul Black the singer, and Nicky Alexander, yeah, I call him. So Nicky Alexander on drums, Mick Cripps on bass, Robert Stoddard on guitar. I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, Paul Black. So that lineup was. So Robert Stoddard wasn't the man. Tracii was the guitar player and then he quit before their very first show. He flaked. So I got the band. Mick knew Robert, who ended up playing guitar, and they ended up being a great band. And so the thing I'm pissed off about Tracii is he weaseled his way back into that fucking band, fired everybody, and then so he could have started a whole other band. Like the people that ended up being in LA Guns, he could have just started a band with them.
So it's kind of like how I feel now. It's just the brand, and when they had the two LA Guns, it didn't matter. It was just kind of like his thing. Is that like so? He was. Yeah,
it's weird. Like so, I wanted to like. I mean, I talk shit about Tracii and LA Guns. Anybody that would listen out here, like people that know us, and I remember one time me and my buddy Vinny Stiletto were sitting. It was probably like 91, 90 or whatever. We're sitting in the Rainbow, and I hear some. It's back in the hair band days, pre-Nirvana. It's probably like 90. And there's a band at the Rainbow. They play hard rock all the time, And I was like, man, who's this band? They're pretty good. And Vinny's like, you don't know? So I guess it was a cocked and loaded LA Gun. So I actually liked it when I didn't know that it was them. So I'm just jaded, Like so like as a band, I mean, I could talk all this shit, but truth be told, like, I kind of liked their first couple records.
Yeah.
But I just, when you just personally don't like someone.
When did you last speak with Tracii?
I don't know. Probably, I don't know. I have no idea. At the Cat House. Like he bought me a beer or something like that. I had somebody buy me a beer.
Obviously many, many years ago.
Yeah, there was a guy named Jimbo. Like, I guess I didn't realize he knew Tracii. And he was a big, strong motherfucker, really like hardcore, like all tatted up and fucking, everything fucking pierced, kind of tough biker dude. Mm-hmm. And he would always like, hey dude, like what's up? And I was like, like if anybody gives you any shit, let me know, right? So I was at a cat house one night, and then he was like, Jimbo's like, hey, Raz, what's going on? It's like, anybody, just say it, man. If anybody gives you any shit. And then Tracy was there. I was like, oh, maybe I should get him to kick Tracy's ass. I didn't know him and Tracy were like bros, man. So I was like, here. And so Jimbo thought I was joking around. I mean, I literally was going to have some big dude kick Tracy's ass. So just because he offered, and I was drunk,
Sure.
and I was like, oh.
I really feel like your story can easily be a screenplay in a movie, like easily.
Yeah.
I mean,
probably too long though, huh?
No, I mean,
I didn't hint that, did I?
what?
Start out on a diving board.
That's what I was thinking as soon as I was reading it.
Oh, really?
I'm like,
okay, because I mean, just like you yourself, in addition, because everyone you read a lot of these rock memoirs, and they can have great stories, but it's so much about who you are and what you've had to deal with, and it just so happens you've had these awesome experiences along with it.
not necessarily screenplay, but teleplay. I see it as like a long series.
Sure.
8 or 9 episodes.
Yeah, a miniseries. It'll be the rock and roll version of Roots.
I mean,
No, what's that one with the Liberace movie where Matt Damon was a power bottom or whatever?
Matt Damon. I don't know.
right.
It'll be something like that, yeah.
Fair enough. Or it'll be some terrible VH1 like Temptations ripoff, whatever. So Raz, you got to get on Twitter, but razq.com is the place to be. I'll make sure.
And buy the Days of Raz and Days of Guns and Razes.
Days of Guns.
Yeah, that too.
And your what was it, the Magical Flying Pot Bus? What was the name of your other book?
Oh, Bud's Love Bus.
Bud's Love Bus. It's if I'm sure is anything is Miss Frizzle in there somewhere or no?
Who's that?
Miss Frizzle from the Magical School Bus. Maybe I'm too young.
No, I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm 52, man.
I'm going to be 34 on Friday, so maybe I guess
He's a kid. I'm right in the middle between you guys.
All right, well, screw both of you for making me feel young.
Hey, that's usually something people want.
I guess so. Hey, I know about dinosaurs in the Civil War. I know about things.
Well, who won? The dinosaurs won the Civil War?
They did. It was in overtime.
Nice. Raz, I can't thank you so much enough for taking the time out to speak with us today for your first... Hopefully, I mean, this will be the first of many interviews because you have a great story to tell, and you are a great interview. I've interviewed a lot of people over the years. You have a great sense of humor. You're open. Nothing is off. You're a good storyteller. So, everyone should get your book, and you are always welcome back here on Appetite for Distortion.
Oh, thanks, man. I actually appreciate your time, man, and you guys helping me. You have really helped me out here.
Kidding me? Everyone, I want people to get this book.
Raz, thanks so much.
Thank you, man.
And for whatever reason you're ever in New York, please look me up.
Yeah,
I will. I will for sure.
Look me up as well, please.
Absolutely, Raz.
So.
You have a good one, buddy.
Okay, thanks for everything.
See you later, Raz. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
Bye. I mean, John, thank you.
Heck, man. I mean, I knew that was going to be cool.
That was going to be cool longer than I thought, but it had to be.
So what? I mean,
it had to be.
That's the kind of thing. I mean, you think about that. I was like, this is an interview as hot as Axl on the Eddie Trunk show that time, like this is like you're not gonna. This is the first time you're gonna have somebody like that on,
I could have talked to him longer, more not just about Guns N' Roses, but just about him as a person. Well, how did you get out of that? Being 15 and going out and about, it's taken me fucking a long ass time to deal with some handicap shit. And mine his was immediate. So it's fascinating, and so definitely get the Days of Raz and Guns and Razes on razq.com.
And it's fun. It's a fun book. I mean, you don't really want to put it down. It's like for fans of younger generations that, especially nowadays, that want to know maybe what it was like growing up in the 70s or the 80s. I mean, clearly that's what it is, but the detail that he goes into about being in L.A., being in Orange County, going to Hawaii, but really being a kid in L.A. at that time, with the music, the TV shows, the just like the street, the lingo is there, and it takes you into it. It's so immediate. That's why it's such a cool story.
It's awesome, and this podcast has again brought me just to meeting and talking to some really cool people, which does include you, John Miller. And I think we cut ourselves off before Raz called. We were talking about a couple things. One of which called back, we were talking about the last episode that we did, the live show.
Yeah.
At the top of that, we wanted to acknowledge your feud with, for lack of a better term, or with GNR Central.
Yeah, I didn't mean to like have a feud with them.
No. I mean, before you say anything, just to recap, GNR Central is just one of many awesome fan sites or information sites. And I know you are very passionate about what's just like how Raz is. And we said at the beginning, what's fake, what's not, what's real, what's not. And I think what GNR Central does is that, they would put up, I guess, a vlog and show, whether it's Blabbermouth or Ultimate Guitar in the article, which may contain fallacies, and he would give his opinion on it. And I don't think he was anything malicious, but I think you were upset that day, and they were pissed that we didn't defend them. And I apologize because I'm like, I didn't know the story. We kind of just let it happen.
Well, I didn't mean to attack anybody, but
we
I think,
can't control you, John. You're out of control.
But once you put yourself in the public like this, like put yourself in the public, you're gonna get criticism. You're gonna get ridicule. But the reason, first of all, a friend of mine and I, we noticed them that when you have a YouTube account with advertising, subscribers asking for clips, there's a way of making money off doing that, and you're using the GNR name to do that. Which
the plan is to do that here, but it's not happening.
But there's something, all right. But this, I find this clearly 100 times more creative.
Oh, this is different.
But that kind of thing. If that was one issue, but the thing, they call themselves The True Story. There is no true story. They're reading stuff you can find online, and there's no new insight. So if it was just like, hey, let's just a Guns N' Roses fan thing about this one thing, but trying to offer that they have some new information is just misleading, and so that's also offensive. And like I read, there's a rapid fire one that I missed, and so I'm clearly I know a lot about rapid fire. Well, from the offset,
Axl's old band.
Yeah, from the offset, it's he's saying things that aren't true, or that he hasn't done his homework about it, and so like that's not right.
I get from everything you're saying, I get, but when I got the inbox from one of the people there, and I don't want to be a middleman, so I've opened the invitation for them to come on because this is just a Guns N' Roses family, and that was their words. And they said they liked the podcast. They've listened to every episode. So the invitation is always open for the guys from GNR Central. Although I was disappointed that the last video I saw from them was the guy saying that he's kind of busy and, he's a lot, which I get because just like this, for me, even though I'm in radio, this podcast is not on my time. Mm-hmm. This isn't on my work time, rather. This is on my off time. So I think he's taking a break because he's got some life stuff going on. So I hope he does come back and does come on. They do come in the show, and we can have some sort of GNR roundtable discussion.
Yeah, and like one of his videos recently was that Axl might have watched one of the videos because he made some reference to a Matt Sorum story, or no, a Dizzy Reed story. About recording illusions.
You know what? I did see that, and I thought that was really weird.
Well, it was weird, but it was fun. I mean, people ate it up. But bottom line is, we found through certain, insider information through one of my friends, two of my friends are the co-owners of.
But let's like with the people who don't know that story. There was something that he did. The guy from GNR Central, he referenced something.
He down-tuned the piano or something.
And then all of a sudden, he phrased it in a certain way. And then there was a show that happened later on.
Axl addressed direct quote that he read.
And you know what? I don't blame him because for me...
It's fun. It's neat. It's like, wow, maybe he watched my show.
Well, I had that. I don't think I've spoken about it on this podcast. And I guess if you're not a New York Yankee fan, you may not give a shit. But if you are... their radio announcer since I was a fucking kid, John Sterling, who does all these stupid nicknames now. I'm the reason why he started it, and I swear to fucking God. Tino Martinez was my favorite player growing up, and I never heard it before. I'm like, I grew up watching The Sandlot. Of course, Babe Ruth, the Great Bambino. So I thought of the Great Bambino. Me and my dad, we had Yankee season tickets before they cost an arm and a leg. So in the old stadium, so we sat we had tickets 7 rows behind the Yankee dugout. And I made a sign, never did that before. The camera was on us. We had it taped on VHS. Mom taped it at home. And the announcers they zoomed in on us. Well, it wasn't like a WWE event where you see all these signs. They zoomed in on us. The late great Bobby Mercer, he's like, the Great Bambino, I've never heard of this before. Then a few weeks later, when Tino hit his 40th home run, it is high, it is far, it is gone. The great Bambino. John Sterling says it for the first time. Mike and Mike and the Mad Dog, which was a very famous radio show here in New York. They were making fun of him. So, I mean, that was the first time he was heard. And ever since then, he started using names. Then Tina was traded. Then they got Jason Giambi. Then he kind of shoehorned the Giambino in there. Now that's where the A-Rod, an A-bomb from A-Rod, if you're a baseball Yankee fan. Anyway, I know that's a crazy sidetrack, but
it's cool.
But it's like, I made that up. That's bullshit. So if that's how he feels, that's fine.
And I totally understand.
Right.
But
so,
I mean,
that's why I want him to get on here so we can have a direct back and forth with you at some point.
Yeah, and also two of my friends co-own GNRtruth.com, which is a great website. I mean, I know you guys like my GNR.
No, we follow you that on Twitter. I mean, we try to. I mean, if you follow us on Twitter at the AFD Show, and we'll follow you back. We want to make our online community bigger. So do that. So we do follow a GNR Truth.
Yeah,
and in GNR Central. I just hope they come back and. As you are, John, you're welcome on the show whenever.
Thanks.
This is like your third time co-hosting.
Actually, it's my fifth time.
Well,
if you count when I called in from Indiana,
I do too much peyote. No, I've been talking like you were. I said, you were kind of a co-host then. You were just kind of like a.
Yeah, like I came out to Long Island a couple of times, and then came here.
This is that'll be your fourth.
Called in from Indiana, all right. And then here's the fourth in the studio.
In the studio, all right. You're still one of the bad apples. So that's what I want to. How Lady Gaga has her little monsters.
I can be
have
weird.
My bad apples.
I can be weird. I get a little fired up, and like I was told by a very significant person, if you ever meet Axl, you cannot behave the way you're behaving. and I think
that's been said to you
because I'm a spaz. I mean, I think having Chris Webber, one of the first times Chris Webber and I met, I'd had maybe 3 or 4 cappuccinos before he showed up.
Oh God!
And he probably thought I was on something because I was wired out of my mind.
Yeah, no, I get like sometimes I get like I got to calm myself down. Like when I met Weird Al, or I was in one of the things I do here at iHeart. I was in a room with Bruce Campbell for 3 hours.
Oh yeah, I saw those pictures. That was really cool.
Yeah, from Evil Dead, of course, because he was doing a radio tour. Groovy. And when my boss is like, just act professionally. I'm like, I will.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
it's like somebody was in who played Zod in Superman 2.
I know you're talking about.
Sir. Oh, God. Whatever. He did a show with him. Before they even recorded, he goes, I'm sorry, I just got to ask. And he just goes, you may kneel before Zod. and so he literally dropped to his knees and he's like, okay, thank you. And they got it out of the way.
Some people are cool like that. It just like, you never know. I mean, we've all talked about certain stories about, how I met Bumblefoot, how you met certain, Slash when you were, waiting tables and that awkward interaction on your very first episode here. So, no, it's very cool. And this was just not only addition just to having Raz here, just having you here again. That was a weird sentence. I think it's because it's a long episode and my brain's starting to leak out. Having you here once again, because you, much like Art Tavana, our buddy, just an encyclopedia of just GNR stuff. I believe, because as I have my notes here, trying to be a little bit more prepared for each one of these shows, that we touched upon everything. We were going to
talk about covers.
Okay. That's what we'll wrap up with the covers, because they've been doing, and I believe an edit.
This is what we were going to talk about. We were thinking Steely Dan.
Yes.
Like, might they do a Steely Dan song?
That would be very cool, because they've been doing. I should say they've been doing. I'll reiterate that. Because it wasn't a one-off. Same thing with Black Hole Sun, Wichita Lineman.
Which has got better and better each time I've heard it.
Growing up, and I mentioned, we talked about Steely Dan just a little bit. I grew up with Steely Dan on the radio, just never, took it upon myself to go deeper into the catalog, but I still always liked it. But with Glenn Campbell, for me, he was never on the radio. I know who he was. My mom always spoke about him, especially towards the end when he got Alzheimer's. Because my grandmother has Alzheimer's, so she would always, feel better talking about Glenn Campbell. So I feel bad. I feel like an asshole saying this. I had never heard that song.
Neither have I.
I'd never heard Wichita.
I of course went to YouTube first, and I'm like, isn't this a cool song? I told my wife. She goes, yeah, I like it, but I know you're liking it because Guns just played it. I'm like, well, isn't that cool?
But I think they did a.
And how fucking good does Axl sound?
I think he's in his pitch on that song. I like the way it's broken down. I think that it's a great. I've
only found that one video of it though. I want to see more. It's not the complete song.
Yeah, but I think in that fan spot, the Facebook fan spot where they post a set list. I think I've seen it more than once.
No, certainly, but I haven't seen it. Like in Vancouver, that nobody recorded.
I just find that very fascinating. That it's more bands will pay homage, but they're keeping it in the set list. They haven't done that with Chester with Linkin Park. So, but I can see them doing more of a Steely Dan given their age.
Maybe. How about James Brown?
Yeah, James Brown, which they did before, I guess.
2006.
When he was still braided Axl, but had it in a ponytail. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, was interesting, and I just look at that as that's just the band having fun.
Well, also, like, you know, a lot of people bitch about his voice.
Right.
They wonder whether or not he can, you know, sing in certain ranges. I'm like, you want to hear a rasp?
It's all,
Good God.
It shows that he's picking and choosing kind of when he wants to do it, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he wants songs to sound a certain way. He's going to do it the way he wants.
So I posed I posed the question on our Facebook and our Twitter, both at the AFD show, and we'll wrap up in a couple. As I don't like to go too long with these. Who else would you like to see them cover? You know, maybe Prince, maybe Glenn Frey, you know, homage. The reaction, for the most part, that I got is kind of how I feel. Covers are great enough. There's a lot of better, you know, originals out there. That it was stopped because I got really excited. I thought they played Pretty Tied Up, but that was debunked right away.
Yeah, that was I was excited when I saw
there was a faux set list out there.
Some troll gets in there.
Yeah, and it was on like a main concert. There was like concerts.list.com.
That setlist.com.
Setlist.com, right. So they did not play Pretty Tied Up. I was excited. I thought it was. That's fake shit. Because in addition to that, not to cut you off, but both Duff and Slash had a tweet about fake accounts of theirs. You know, like of Duff and Slash apparently inboxing fans asking for money. Fucked up shit.
What?
Yeah, it's like fucked up shit. But one reaction that I got, in addition to like saying, hey, let's just go back to the originals, is from our friend Anna in Portugal. And I thought this was an interesting one. Prophets of Rage. Of course, we should Rage Against the Machine with Chuck D and Be Real from Cypress Hill. And she goes that the rap, I guess combined words, rap meets rock, and what would GNR do that now? And this is a broad range. And of course, the politicizing, you know, they're very political now. And how Guns is, you know, at least on social media is pretty political.
Axl mentioned something about Trump not too long ago, and he cut himself off. He goes, you know, Slash is looking at me, you know, hope you shut your mouth now or something. I forget what he said about something. I forget what he said. But anyway, I wish they would bring back "Sailing," the Rod Stewart song.
Okay.
Have you ever heard that?
Is that the Sail Away, Sweet Sister? That one?
No. This is from 2006. He sang it, as far as I know, only twice, both in London. Just Sailing. Look it up on YouTube.
I want to hear them because he does great covers. I was listening to some actual Spaghetti Incident on my way in the studio today, but I do want to see, you know, Pretty Tied Up. I want to hear some
They'll
things.
Play that. I mean, they just brought back in Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, no, they did, but again, more Chinese, which I like, you like, Ian likes, but you know, it's just interesting. I mean, if we're complaining about and I guess I'll end it here, which was which was fascinating to me when I went to see Lady Gaga, and I was talking about it with Ian. And I went there, and I think Guns N' Roses have ruined me for every show going on. Because Gaga was great. Great voice, you know. I knew the set list wasn't going to be what I wanted just because she was promoting a new album. And I like the new record, but I like some of her older stuff. Whatever. But the fact that the beginning, it was 2 hours, okay? Because Axl and GNR do 3 hours plus. And that's no discredit to Gaga, who I thought was pulling an Axl. She didn't come on until like 10 o'clock. But she has also like health issues and pain issues, so that's 2 hours is fine. But that there were breaks, you know, and I know she has costume changes and they'll put on like vignettes on the screen or whatever, but Axl does the same thing. And when she had a band out there, when it was a more like rock-driven song, it was fine. You know, I liked it. I'm taking, you know, the guitar solos, drum solos. But with GNR, it was nonstop. My emotion was just like, oh my God, it was riding high. I didn't know what to do with the Gaga show. Up for one song, down for another, up, down. So I'm like, it's just very weird. So GNR, the fact that they're still doing it, still announcing dates, you know, the reviews have been just over the fucking moon. I know I'm nitpicking with the set list.
Oh, it's, you know what? It's okay because you want what's the best. You know, you're gonna get the best thing ever. Like your appetite only grows. But the Vancouver show clips that I saw last night, I couldn't believe how. I mean, I've been to a bunch of the shows already, and I cannot believe how it looks like it's getting better and better. You just can't get better, but they are.
I think they're getting better.
And October cannot come soon enough.
Oh yeah, so we'll say that. I know you're going to a couple of the shows here in the city.
4.
You're going to 4 now? You had 3.
3 MMSGs and 1 Newark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to the October 12th.
Oh, come on, man. I know
give me money.
There is some strange issue. Like if you go through the night train or whatever, like it was really tough getting pit tickets.
I don't want to pay more. I mean,
oh, come on. We only have one life to live.
You know, if you get pit tickets, because that's all right. That's something else.
But there's been issues. Like for some reason, I've heard, like, I couldn't get a pit ticket. Like, as soon as they were on sale for MSG, none of the pits were available. I didn't know what the heck was going on.
I will just say this, because I also got, I got similar seats from when I saw GNR at MetLife. No, it wasn't MetLife. Yeah, it was MetLife. Yeah, it was at MetLife. But it was fine to be that far away for a rock show. But for her, I feel like it needed to be closer because I just didn't get the vibe all the way back up there. Even though, again, it was a good show. Mm-hmm. But Axl's and that band's vibe just hit you regardless of where you were. So if you happen to get close seats, because there will be nobody that'll pay that amount of money, including Ian, to see Guns N' Roses again, let me know, okay? Because right now, Danzig, after GNR, Danzig is my last show of the year.
All right.
So, John, you're obviously, hopefully I'll see you again before.
If we don't, I mean, I'm going to Scotland for 11 days on September 11th.
Nice.
And then I'll be coming back and just counting down until October 11th. For MSG.
All right, very cool. And I'll just say it on this podcast because I know it was kind of confirmed, but I usually like when it's like stamp of approval and confirmed. But hopefully this Friday, which is going to be the 8th, right? Because I should know that because it's my birthday, right?
I hope so.
Which I normally would have off, but I think I'm coming in to interview Trivium. You know, are you familiar with the band Trivium?
No.
Because you're old.
Yes.
Well, Trivium is a big metal band who have cited Guns N' Roses as, influence, and they're big in the community. So hoping to have an in-studio interview with Trivium this coming Friday as we record this on the 8th. So I try to be as live with these podcasts as possible when we're not live like we were last time. Anyway.
And so we'll be on the air tomorrow competing with Mitch LaFon's Tracy Guns interview, I heard.
Yes, I don't know if that's allowed to be. Is that allowed to be said? Did Mitch announce that?
Yeah, okay. I saw it was a Twitter. It was a
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know because I know you told me. I didn't know if Mitch officially announced that.
Yeah, no.
All right,
he did.
That's just interesting that there's going to be.
And he's been on this show, right? Mitch?
Yes. I reached out to him because he got the exclusive with Adler when he was not happy with.
That's right.
And yeah, I was like, who's this? Like, I didn't know Mitch at the time, and now I feel like an idiot because Mitch is fucking the man. I didn't know, especially he's a Canadian. I like Canadians. Anyway, we've spoken too much. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, Appetite for Distortion.
I sure have.
Episode 26. Raz Cue. I mean, my God, get his book, The Days of Guns and Razes, on Amazon or RazCue.com. And hopefully we'll be talking to you soon, whether it be Trivium or a new episode. You said you're going to Scotland, right?
Yeah.
I think there's... Oh my God! I may be talking to. It's going to be soon. This guy has been talking to us a lot. We're meeting some fucking awesome people here through this podcast. And whoever's listening if you have a great story that involves Guns N' Roses, reach out. I want to hear it. Sir Kev. His grandma's from Brooklyn, so he's an Islander fan, but he lives in Ireland. And he's writing a Guns N' Roses book. He runs a guitar shop. So I've been wanting to speak with him for a while.
A lot of Guns N' Roses books coming out soon.
Right, I know. So, I mean, everyone has their tale, and GNR happens to be around it, orbiting it. And that's kind of what my story is. So if you want to reach out, please, again, we don't check our email often, so you can always inbox us on Facebook or Twitter. Anything else, my sweet John?
No, this is it. I'm looking forward to listening to us.
Egomaniac. All right. So again, thanks for hanging out. When will be the next time you see us? Well, just like Axl said about Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.
You've been listening to the distorted minds of Brando and Scotto, dissecting all things Guns N' Roses on Appetite for Distortion. Follow the guys on Twitter at The AFD Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/The AFD Show.
Thanks to the lame ass security, I'm going home.